The British and Irish Lions are back. Well, sort of. They came back in emphatic style this weekend, putting in a dominant second half display to hammer the Western Force 54-7 in Perth in front of a record crowd of over 46,000, the largest in Force history. The Lions recovered from a shaky opening quarter to find their rhythm and run in 5 second half tries, but there are still some questions around this Lions team as they build up cohesion. The Force started brightly, answering Dan Sheehan's early score with a 14-phase effort, which was finished by Nick White, and at one point they looked to be causing the Lions some real problems in defence. But once the tourists tightened up at the breakdown and began to win the kicking battle, the tide would slowly turn red. Tries from Tomos Williams and Elliot Daly gave them a cushion before halftime, albeit there were some defensive issues, and in particular kickoff receipt was a real worry. After the break, it would turn into one-way traffic. Gary Ringrose and Joe McCarthy crossed the line. The offload game began to click into gear and the Lions surged past the 50-point mark. McCarthy's player of the match performance highlighted the growing depth in the Lions pack, while Finn Russell's calm control and accurate distribution at 10 gave the backs the platform to run riot and put a real notch on the board for the Scottish fly half as the first choice 10. But not all of the news was good. Unfortunately, scrum half Tomos Williams, who had scored twice and emerged as a front runner for a test jersey, limped off with a hamstring injury early in the second half, which was a major blow for the ultra exciting Gloucester scrum half. He's now been ruled out of the rest of the tour, which is a huge blow to Andy Farrell's plans and really removes a bit of depth there. Scotland's Ben White has been called up as covered, but Williams is really hitting his straps in this Lions squad, so it's a real shame to see him depart. Looking ahead, the Lions face their toughest non-chess challenge so far on Wednesday night in Brisbane when they take on the Queensland Reds. Maro Itoje returns to captain the side. Jameson Gibson-Park slots in at scrum half for the first time this campaign, as does Hugo Keenan at fullback. With just over 2 weeks until the opening test against the Wallabies, which is coming around awfully quick, every minute on the pitch is now vital for Farrell's charges. In South Africa, the Springboks kicked off their 2025 season with a ruthless 54-7 win over the Barbarians in Cape Town. Played in relentless rain, the Boks embraced the conditions and stuck to their strengths. They didn't give the Barbarians anything, and the forward dominance, kick pressure and punishing mistakes of the Barbars proved far too much. Malcolm Marx, Vincent Tichuco and Cheslin Colby scored early as the Boks strangled the Barbarians' usual free-flowing style and made them look awfully clunky. In the second half, it was more of the same. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Lou Diaga and Kurtley Arendse added tries before Damien Dialende finished the rout in the final minutes of this match. Tichuca was a standout for the Boks with 2 tries and an all-action display that showed that he's more than ready for test rugby. Morne van den Berg conceded proceedings with maturity at scrum half, while new prop Asinate Nkabakane impressed on debut. It was also an emotional day as Irish legends Peter O'Mahony and Cian Healy pulled on the boots one final time after what were very distinguished careers. Both players ended long, decorated careers at the highest level, though it wasn't the fairy tale finish they would have hoped for, having been on the receiving end of a Bok beatdown. Elsewhere, Stade Toulouse are champions of France once again, winning an all-time classic top 14 final 39-33 after extra time against Bordeaux-Bègles in what many are calling the greatest top 14 final ever. It took 100 minutes of ferocious rugby to separate the two sides who have gone head-to-head 4 times this season. Thomas Ramos was the hero, scoring 24 points, including the match-winning penalty in the 100th minute after Toulouse's forwards won a crucial turnover. Jack Willis crossed twice, Anthony Gelonge added another, and Toulouse's big game experience ultimately proved the difference as they edged out the newly crowned Investec Champions Cup winners. Bordeaux were courageous with tries from Damien Penaud, Guido Petty and a brilliant solo effort by fly half Matthew Jalibert. But for the second straight season, they came up short in the final, albeit a lot closer this time. Toulouse claimed their 24th domestic crown and their third in a row as they rubber stamped their dominance on French rugby. There was a price, however, with fly half Romain Ntamack leaving the field early in the second half with a shoulder injury and has since undergone surgery in what is a big blow for the young playmaker. It brings a difficult season to a premature end after battling knee issues since last year. In transfer news, James O'Connor is returning to the Premiership. The 34-year-old former Wallaby has signed with the Leicester Tigers following a Super Rugby title with the Crusaders. O'Connor says it's a full circle moment for him, a chance to contribute on and off the field and to prove himself again in English rugby's top tier. Meanwhile, tensions are rising in Pretoria, with reports suggesting that Jake White may be ousted as the Bulls head coach within the next fortnight. Despite reaching another URC final, the third in 4 seasons, internal discontent among players and coaches appears to have brought things to a head for White. Johan Ackerman, Franco Smith and Johan van Graan are among the names linked with a possible takeover, albeit all three are currently engaged elsewhere. Away from the senior rugby stage, the World Rugby U20 Championship, which kicked off this past week with some big results and early clues about who might challenge for the crown in 2025. England, the defending champions, began their campaign with a 56-19 rout of Scotland in Verona. A blistering first half saw them run in 5 tries, with winger Jack Bracken and number 8 Kane James among the standouts for the English side. Tyler Ofaya also impressed in the backline, and he showed some serious pace and sharpness that coach Mark Mapletoft has demanded of his side heading into this year's competition. But the second half was a different story. England dominated possession, but really they struggled to break down a dogged Scottish defence, adding just one late try through fullback Josh Bellamy. With South Africa looming next, there is plenty of work to do for the defending champions. Speaking of the junior Boks, they were absolutely devastating in their first showing. A 73-17 demolition of Australia in Calvisano laid down a serious marker. Scrum half Hassim Peed scored twice and winger Siabonga Nzole was electric out wide. The junior Boks looked balanced, physical, lethal and combined all of their traditional strengths with a real spark in the backline in what was a major step up from their Rugby Championship campaign. France also opened with the win, beating Spain 49-11. Matthias Barret bagged a double as the French forwards did most of the damage over their close rivals. But Les Bleuettes were far from perfect. 10 penalties conceded and plenty of unforced errors will need addressing ahead of their clash with a vastly improved Wales side. Ireland held off a spirited Georgian side to win 35-28. Paddy Farrell scored 2 early tries that proved crucial, but Ireland were guilty of conceding 17 penalties and were caught napping on a few occasions. They were at times outplayed by the big powerful Georgian pack at scrum time, but Georgia could not convert that pressure into points despite a couple of quick taps that in other circumstances might not have been tries. The game of the round came in Verona, where Argentina edged out Wales 34-27 in a thriller. Wales had a 24-7 lead after 30 minutes thanks to a penalty try and scores from Stefan Emanuel and Evan Minto. But Argentina roared back with Thomas Ramos and Timoteo Silva both crossing before the break. The Pumitas kept their foot to the gas in the second half and secured the win through a late try from Agustin Garcia Campos Fisman. Now that is a mouthful of a name. New Zealand opened their campaign with a hard-fought 14-5 win over host Italy. The junior All Blacks were far from fluent, but 2 first-half tries were enough to edge past the Italians. Italy had a dominant scrum and controlled large parts of the game, especially when New Zealand were down to 14 men, but they just couldn't take advantage. How much of that was psychological? We're not too sure on that one. Round 2 is set to be a cracker, with England versus South Africa the headline act. These stakes are high, and this under-20 tournament is shaping up to be one of the most competitive in years, with several sides more than capable of taking out the title. It's been a wild weekend of rugby across the globe, from senior tests to age grade showdowns, and there's plenty more to come, so stay locked in. Check out Flow Rugby for all of your rugby needs, especially if you're looking forward to the Rugby Championship and the upcoming internationals of the Southern Hemisphere sides, which will all be on Flow Rugby. And of course, as we get through the off season and into the next season, we will once again have the URC, Top 14, Investec Champions Cup and EPCR Challenge Cups live and exclusive for you. If you like reading a bit of editorial content, also check out our stuff on flowrugby.com. Thanks for watching the video and we hope you enjoyed it.